So, Barry, I think this is something that a lot of business owners feel. And I think that they say it to other business owners. They say it at Bry's. They say it in different places.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Uncovering Greatness podcast. Great to have you. My name is Barry Mitchell. I'm your host. And with me today, I'm very excited to tell you that I have Suleiman, the one and only,
You're doing intros now.
the one and only Steele.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your host, Sully. And today I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Barry Mitchell. Barry is the lead trainer at Uncovering Greatness. And what he helps you do is create clarity in your business. He helps you build a championship team, and he calls you out on your bullshit.
Hello, Sully.
Boom! You know, that was a good intro when he doesn't have a comeback. He liked that one, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyway,
Let's get into it. Barry,
talking about bullshit, what have you got in store for us today?
what are most business owners paying for right now?
That's a pretty interesting question, that Sully. What are most business owners paying for right now? Well, you can look at that on a couple of ways. I mean, for me, the immediate thing that comes up is paying for people who are not doing what they should be doing and not delivering on what they should be delivering on.
Yep.
That's one.
That's one.
Two, I think a lot of times many business owners have lack of clarity in terms of where they're going, exactly what they want out of their business. And what they're paying for is they're paying a price to drive something that they're not going to get what they don't know they don't want.
Explain that.
So you pay a price in a business. You drive a business, you want to grow it, you got to spend time in it, work, different levels of stress and emotion, investing, and with the hope for many people that something's going to happen. And without clarity on where you're going, without, a 10-year vision, a 10-year plan. Wonderful analogy I heard last night is you put a ladder up against the wall and you climb the ladder and you climb. It's hard work. It's a tall, high ladder. And you get to the top and you go, oh shit, I'm against the wrong wall. Or climb a mountain and get to the peak that you thought was the peak, but you didn't really think it was the peak because you started climbing. And you get to the top and you look over and you're like, oh crap, there's the other peak. I should be on the other
side.
And you pay a price.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay a price anyway. So rather pay the price to get where you want to get to than not have clarity of vision. And it's not only business owners. I think it's many people. Many people in the world do not know what they want out of life. I ask that question in all my programs, and very few people can articulate, this is what I want in the next 10 years.
So for you, I mean, you work with a lot of different businesses, business owners, different types of people.
Yeah.
So if you walked into a business today, what would you look for to know if people are actually doing their jobs?
Well, I think, the first thing is you got to look at what's being measured.
Okay.
And if you have clarity of where you're going, and you are clear on the processes that need to be done to get there, and the actions that need to be undertaken in the processes, and then you have a clear scorecard, and you're measuring that scorecard, and that scorecard will tell you whether we're delivering or we're not delivering.
Okay.
And it's the accuracy of that measurement, and it's the consistency of that measurement. And a lot of times it's not results. Someone say to me, my sales team is not creating results. So I'm like, okay, well, let's not just look at the results. Obviously you want results. Yes, you need money coming in and you got to close deals, but results come from a process. You have to follow a process. So you create the right process up front, and then you create the right behaviors within your sales team and your sales staff to drive that process. Now, that's the same in manufacturing. It's the same in services, anything like that. The result is, for example, with my financial manager, I need accounts out by the 7th of the month.
Okay.
Okay, so we can sit down and look at our financials. Now, if we're not clear that it has to be done by the 7th of the month and there's no commitment, well, then we're not clear on the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first is you create clarity of what we want. Then you create clarity of exactly how that needs to be done. Whose role, who plays what role, what needs to be done in order to get them done by that. Then the commitment by the team that it can be done, and each person's committed to honor their agreement of fulfilling that role.
Okay.
Then you hold people accountable.
Yep.
If people are doing what they're doing over a period of time and you can't hit the 7th, well, then you got to relook at your process. What it means is they're following the process. It doesn't mean they're not working. It may mean they're not creating the results because there needs to be tweaks and changes in the process.
Okay.
And a lot of times, what I observe is people look at people and immediately, because they're not creating the results, make the assumption that they're not doing their job.
Okay. Fair enough?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can, you can follow a sales process and you can be out making your calls and following up and connecting with people. And if you're not hitting the results, it doesn't mean you're not working. What it means is that then I can go and relook at the process and relook at the skills, and you can upskill people, and eventually you'll get the process. So just to determine very quickly whether people are doing their job or not depends on a couple of different factors.
So, and I've heard you say this many a time in trainings at businesses, we speak about the difference between busyness and running a business. So, if I'm a business owner, how do I tell the difference? Because I mean, a lot of people say I'm busy. Employees say I'm busy. How do you tell the difference between someone who's busy and somebody who's productive?
Well, are you following the process?
Okay.
Yeah, I can be making a cake. I want to make a cake.
Yeah.
So I want to bake a cake. Great. So I'm busy running around town, pricing the cake material, pricing the ingredients, studying different types of bowls and which would be the best bowl for me. And I spend the whole day doing that. I'm not going to get a cake up, but I'll tell you, man, I was busy. And you'll say, busy doing what? No, I was busy. I was doing research and I was doing this and I was doing that. Well, it's not going to give me my result. So often we get lost in busyness. So if I'm effective, well, I know the process. I'm clear on the process. I've got the tools because I've said I can make a cake by the end of the day.
Mhm.
I've got the tools. And now I need to be productive. So what am I going to do? I'm going to follow the process and bake the cake. It doesn't mean the cake's going to come out right. But now I am productive. Okay, I'm productive. I did what I said I was going to do. I followed the process. I got a cake out. Now, it may not be effective. Now I need to work on effectiveness. So what did I do? Well, I was productive. I missed out a step. I was careless, whatever it is. But I wasn't busy.
Yes.
See, busyness is often disguised as productiveness. And you can be very busy. You can be busy all weekend and get
nothing done.
100%. But we were so busy. And busyness seems to be like this badge of honor in the world today.
Indeed.
How are you? Oh, I'm so busy. It's like, what the friggin' heck does that mean, man? I'm so busy. Busy doing what?
Yeah. Would you be, so for example, would you be, let's just say like for us, for example, right? And I'm just hypothetically, yeah. Our hours are 8 to 5, but we work.
Well, yours are.
Yes. Because I'm productive. Because between that time I can knock out what I need to do. So, just telling you.
So why you normally at work at 7?
100%. So I can start at 8 because I'm setting myself up for success. So if somebody is, the time is 8 to 5, but 3, they're saying, cool, I'm out, I'm done. You ask them what they've done, and they can actually show you what they've done. I don't want to use the word, I'm just going to use the word understanding of somebody who's, is that productive for you? I can show you what I've done. I followed the process. I've made X amount of calls, which is my target for the day. I've sent out X amounts of quotes, or I've closed one, whatever it is. Is it better for you to have somebody who's there in that time period being productive and then can be done at 3, or somebody who's there for 8 to 5 being busy?
Oh no, I want productive people.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, many jobs require you to be there from 8 to 5. If you're the receptionist, you need to be there from 8 to 5.
Different ballgame, yeah.
So you can be busy as a receptionist, running all over the office, writing notes and not answering the phone. Well, you're ineffective and not productive.
Mm.
So as a receptionist, you need to be there. You've got to be there from 8 to 5. You've got to be on the phone. You have to be productive. And what's productiveness? Answer the calls, follow up, make sure messages get done, that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Now, can you find, if things are quiet, can you find additional things to do that add value to other people or add value to yourself? Yes. But being busy, busyness is, some people are busy and they're not answering the phone.
Mm.
And you say, why didn't you answer the phone? Oh, I was busy. Busy doing what? Your core job is to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So, it's like, take it to an extreme. Formula One driver,
Mm-hmm.
he could be busy in the pits.
Yeah. Faffing around.
Well, that's great. He can
noise.
say, man, I had such a busy Formula One.
Mm.
Why didn't you get in your car? Oh, I was too busy. I was checking the tires, doing this, talking to the manager, and it's a ludicrous friggin' example, but it's not really, because it's an extreme example.
Yeah.
You'd never have a world-class Formula One driver. His job is to get in the car and race.
Mm-hmm.
That's his job. And the better he does that, the more effective the results will be, the more productive he is, and that sort of stuff. Shit happens, and we don't finish first, break down, do all that, because that's life and business. But they'll never say to you, why did you not win the race? Oh, I was so busy. Busy doing what? Busy doing stuff other than driving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yet in business, if you take that analogy, in business, how many salespeople are busy doing admin work, busy doing this, but they're not actually driving and doing what they should be doing.
Mm. Have you seen that in teams? You've run your own businesses. You work in businesses where you see that. Have you seen like a real example of that? People being busy versus people being productive, and like what was the busy people? How long do they last usually?
Oh, I think lots of people spend a lot of time being busy and hold on to jobs because of a lack of accountability and a lack of driving agreements. And many people are busy.
Mm.
I mean, I ask people, how did you, oh, I'm so busy. What did you achieve from today? I mean, how many times in our organization are we busy? Sit around, have a meeting.
Busy.
Someone says, well, we were meeting, we're discussing this. Well, some of the time we're just talking shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's like 80% of the time.
And if you're honest, you're like, yeah, well, I actually wasn't that busy. We sat in a meeting. We were productive for 20% of the time, and 80% of the time was, but people won't own that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you take those habits into other areas of your life, you can go to the gym and be busy. Fill up water, talk to people, run around.
That's my favorite.
Go back to the toilet. Go back to your car to fetch your. You forgot your headphones. 1 hour goes by. You've done 5 minutes of friggin' exercise, but you were busy in the gym.
The 5 minutes of exercise when you're walking around.
I don't want to be busy in the gym. I want to be focused.
Yeah.
And I want to be productive.
Yeah.
I go to the gym. I have to go swim for, I don't know, do 2.5K swim. I'm very clear. It's a 50-minute to an hour session. I'm not going to be busy. I'm going to be focused. I'm there. I walk in, say hello, walk through to the swimming pool, put my kit on, jump in the pool, swim. Okay. Someone says, what did you do? I'm not going to say, oh, I had such a busy hour doing what? Oh, I did this stroke and that stroke. No, I swam.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So lots of times when busyness comes out, my brain just immediately goes, you're not productive.
So why do you think so many teams default to being busy instead of actually producing results?
It's because where's it easier to go to?
Being busy.
Yeah, because when you actually following your process, when you're actually out like salespeople calling on customers all day long, picking up the phone, phoning, doing all that sort of stuff, doing the things you need to do, there's a risk that if you get to the end of the day and you haven't created the result, you failed. Whereas if you're busy, you can make an excuse.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
No, it does. So you work with people, like a lot of people. How many people actually, because you've been speaking about it probably for like the past 3 episodes, I would say, processes.
Yeah.
How many businesses actually have those that you've seen?
They all have processes. The question is are they clear? Are they written down?
Yeah.
Are they learnt? Are they articulated? Does everyone understand them? Are people held accountable to them? We have a process. If it's not written down, we still have a process. We come to the office, we open up, we do our work. It's a process to get in the gate.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's effective. It means, so when I talk about processes,
Yeah.
it's how clear are you on the process? It's like, it's what's your recipe? And do you follow that recipe step by step? And are you clear on what that recipe is? And anyone else that comes to do the same job or same task, do you teach them that recipe and they fulfill that recipe?
So who creates the recipe?
Well, if you're a business owner on your own to start off with, you should create the recipes.
Okay.
What's the recipe of your business? How do you make money? You know, what's the recipe of, what's your sales process?
Okay.
What's your financial process? What's your banking process?
So how deep
What-
should I?
what's
How
your
many
delivery?
processes should I have?
Well, you need one, you need to understand your core business process. You know, what is the complete process of your business to make money?
Okay.
So what are the different pieces of it, and that needs to be fulfilled in order for you to be able to generate a profit.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Second part is within each area of the business, within each core division, sales, typically sales, operation, and finance. Those are your three core divisions,
Got you.
core fundamental basic divisions.
Yeah.
Within sales, within operations, and within finance, what's your core process to fulfill your obligation to the business process? And then when you start going down, you have a sales rep. What's the sales process for the sales rep? What's the reporting process? What is the sales administrator's process for capturing data? Now you go into finance. What's your debtors process, your creditors process, your cash flow management process? It's a series of steps. So you can go as deep as you want to. You know, so the more clarity you get in your process, the easier it is to teach people, and the easier it is to hold people accountable. When I see a lack of accountability in any team or any business, for me, there's generally two key things. One, expected behaviors are unclear. Okay, so people are unclear on how we should behave, and then we're just managing people on, well, you said you could do it, and then we're managing them on results. So the context or the culture is unclear on how you expect people to behave. So that's the one side. The other side, if that's clear, the other side is a lack of clarity in processes, or a lack of distinct teachable processes that people have committed to agree to do. You know, because when in the absence of clear processes, it's exactly like in the absence of clear rules, people will create their own. And now you have a team of 10 salespeople, and they all sell in different ways. And they're all trying to find customers, and they're all running out into the market. How do you manage that? No, but I'm selling. Well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No, well, I'm baking. What does that mean?
What's the process?
So the recipe is very clear.
Yeah.
Get the ingredients, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll get a cake out the end. So you create clarity of processes. One of the biggest weaknesses I see in businesses, especially when businesses try to scale, they have no process. As a small business owner, it's generally you're a startup small business. It's you and a partner, or just you by yourself. You run off and do everything. Why? Because it needs to get done. So you do it. But you do it because it gets done, and you need to do it, and you need to deliver. But you don't document it. Then you hire people because you're busy. And it's now like, Sully, you come work for me. You handle distribution. Can you do distribution? Yes, boss, I can do distribution. Generally, you say yes because you want to be paid and you need a job. So, and then I get frustrated because you're not doing distribution. But if I bring you in and there's a clear process that says, Silly, this is how our distribution process works. You get the goods, you do this, you do a picking slip, you pack it, you put it on the truck, you deliver, and we deliver twice a week to X amount of customers, this radius. Can you do that? Yes, I can. Yes, good. Now I hold you accountable to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If our customers aren't being delivered on time, then I can walk in and say, Silly, I've got lots of customer complaints. They're not being delivered on time. What's going on? Well, you invariably, many people will not take responsibility. So they'll go below the line, make excuses, justify, deny. And I go, okay, no problem. Well, show me how you followed the process. If you haven't followed the process, well, there's the immediate fix.
Yeah.
Sully, that's not what we agreed you're going to do. Now, before you tell me what doesn't work, do the friggin' process.
Yeah.
You know, what make McDonald's so successful? It's processes and systems. You follow the processes and systems. So it's one of the biggest lacking areas in business, because people scale and this is how we do things. And then you get to 5 or 6 people and you all know how you do things and you get them done. I mean, can you imagine if we didn't have processes and suddenly we brought on 50 new people to be part of our events?
Oh my word!
It would be chaos because everyone would go. People be doing their own thing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we have a very clear process of what happens to events. We can teach people that and say, this is how it works. This is what you do. This is when we open. This is when we close. Then it's not open to ambiguity. And people saying, yeah, but you know, the last event company I worked with, we did this, and I think it's better. I don't give a shit what you think. I don't care. That's not our process. You know, can you imagine going into McDonald's saying, "Yo, you know, the last hamburger company I worked with, they did this, and I think it's better than yours." They go, "I don't care. Go back to that company. This is how we do it. Now do it." Does that make sense? And that creates success.
So, you know, it's interesting, like, because you just mentioned like our event process. I remember when we had a bigger team, we didn't have a documented process, but there was a process, right? The person's process that we followed was Nicole's.
Yeah. That's how we had always run events.
Yeah. But it was in her head and it was in your head. You guys knew how it ran.
100%.
But then you'd see moments where, I'm going to go do my own thing, in the sense of in the guise of helping.
100%.
I'm trying to help. And now it's like, no, but what are you doing? Why'd you move that thing? There's a reason that thing was there.
Well, it's the guise of helping is generally interfering. And generally people trying to show that they can do something.
For sure.
And now you create busyness and ineffectiveness.
Yeah. And now, because somebody else has to now
you have
refix your problem.
100%. You have a clear process. That's not what does the process say? It says put the bottle on the corner of the table. Great. Where's the corner of the table? Why didn't you think it looked nice on the corner? I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant. That's how we do it. You know, it's like joining a company that, you know, so that's the process. Why? A lot of people want to change processes because they don't understand the processes. Well, they think they can create something better before following the process. You know, if you learn a sport, there's a process, isn't it?
Yeah.
You learn a sport. You learn cricket. You learn how to stand. You learn where to put your bat. You learn how to pick up your bat. You learn the core process.
Yeah.
Once you've mastered that core process, then you put in your flair.
Yeah, you can add to it.
Does that make sense? You master the art of baking a chocolate cake. Well, then you can once you've mastered the chocolate cake, and you can do it again and again and again, and it's to the level of what you want. Well, then you can decide what icing you're going to put on it, what sticks you're going to shove through it, what box you're going to put in it. I get all that. But even then, once you decide how to ice, you better have a process.
Yeah.
Because if it's just you know what you're doing. Now you want to scale the cake making business and you need 10 bakers. Well, if you're not clear on the recipe and you just say, hey guys, here's a chocolate cake. We're making chocolate cakes. Come along. Well, you get pissed off if now you have 9 different chocolate cakes and you're going to say, but I thought you guys said you can make chocolate cakes. Yes, we can. Well, this is the chocolate cake I want. No, but I think mine's better. I don't care what does it make sense?
Yeah.
So when you have the process, you that's how we make this. That's how we do this. When you have a process for sales in this company, this is how we sell. Now, as a salesperson, can you do that? Yes or no? Are you prepared to follow the process? Then are you prepared to report back on the process? Then, because that within it, that creates the whole system. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, don't come work here.
Yeah.
But in sales, in many businesses, there's just a huge lack of sales process. You know, people hire people. You must come sell. How am I going to sell? Well, get out and sell. Salespeople should know how to sell. No, follow the process. You know,
how much would you say that's? I mean, because you kind of touched on cost earlier when we started. How much is that? Do you think it's actually costing business owners beyond salaries? Things like not following process, not holding people accountable.
Huge. They're paying a massive price, silly, because you're hiring people to go out to deliver, to create revenue, and if they're not performing, well, generally people hold them for way too long in the hope that they're going to perform. putting up with lots of excuses, fixing a lot of stuff, and then you just bleeding money. The other side is if they're good people and they potentially could perform, and you don't have a process, well, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to fix stuff that you don't know what you're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have a process, it's pretty simple.
Mm.
You know, how many people are you speaking to? Where the leads coming from? How many people are you speaking to? How many second meetings are you having? How many quotes have you sent out? How many of those quotes closed? Now you can go back and say, okay, well, you followed the process. Where's the weak links? Now I can help you fix the weak links. You know, we leads. What about the leads? This is the response we're getting from all our leads. Oh, we're getting the wrong leads. Why? Because we can't take leads to the next level.
Yeah.
Okay, that's possibly, but it gives us an area. If you're head of marketing and you driving leads, and part of the process is every single week to give feedback on the quality of the leads, and you're not getting feedback,
Yeah.
well, then you don't know what to change. And then suddenly someone blames you
Mm.
for shit leads.
Mm.
Then what happens? Whereas if there's a process, and at the end of the week, marketing and sales sits down and analyzes the leads. Why? Because sales every day has to send back a lead, a report back on what they did with their leads. And there's certain criteria. That's the process. If you do that, sure. If you do that, now that's what people term to be busy. Well, that's what they should be doing instead of busyness. That's effectiveness.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Following the process. Problem is for a lot of people, that's boring.
So if I'm a business owner and I'm listening to this right now and I'm thinking, man, this is my business. These guys are hitting me in the fields. Where do I start?
Well, I think start with, are you clear on where you're going?
Okay. Before you go there, because I know you can, I have a feeling, but I don't know. Where are we going in how long? Time frames.
Whatever the time frame is, where you're going this quarter, where you're going this month, where you're going this year, where you're going in 5 years, where you're going in 10 years. You know, the longer you can see, the more, as Alan C. Walter says, the more sanity prevails.
Okay.
Because then you make better decisions because you know why you're making those decisions.
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay. So I start from where I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I do next?
Well, now you go, okay, so with where you're going, now you got to develop a plan. So how am I going to achieve that vision? What are the things that need to be done? You know, in our world, we start at 10, move back to 3, go to 1, and then focus driving the business on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
And then drive from a quarter down into a week. So when you understand that, then you got to go, okay, what are the things that need to be done and how are we going to do those things? Okay. Now, if there's no process, then you have to develop processes.
Okay.
And over time, you develop a process by measuring and seeing what works and what steps need to be and how you do it and where you get the optimum result. And you just do that again and again and again. And then you can create duplication, and 2, you can create mastery.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get clarity and you document that. So as you scale your business and get bigger, people are very clear on that. You know, and yeah, and then you've got to create the system where you're driving accountability. If you're a self-employed, only on your own business owner, well, you have to drive accountability to yourself. How often are you selling? How are you managing your money? When are you doing your accounts? When are you delivering? When are you servicing? When are you manufacturing? Let's just say you do all that. I mean, I met a person the other day at an event. They've just started a business. They're in the food industry, manufacturing pickles. It's them. Great. So they are everything in that business.
Yeah.
Now, when they are being who they are being, when they're being the salesperson, they need to have a sales process so they're clear and they can become effective. When they are being the manufacturer of the pickles, they need to have a manufacturing process and put on their manufacturer's hat and hold themselves accountability for X amount of time to make sure they manufacture.
Yeah.
Because if you are being busy all week long manufacturing, but you're not selling, well, you're going to have a whole lot of stock and you're not going to make any money. If you are busy selling, but you're not making manufacturing, well, and this sounds obvious, and maybe it is, but this is what people don't do because they complicate it. So when you simplify it, like, what are the roles that I need to do every day, every week? Great, when are you going to do your finances? Now, if you happen to, which I think is the biggest mistake many small to medium-sized business owners make, if you happen to be doing your own books, stop, get a bookkeeper. Because now what you're doing is you're going, I need to get my expenses and put them in a file and give them to my bookkeeper. I need to make sure I invoice, give it to my bookkeeper. The bookkeeper will keep your books for you. It allows you to go and do the more essential things in your business. But if you are doing your own books, now you better set aside X amount of time to make sure every day you invoice, every time you capture expenses and do what you have to do. And then you have to do production. So you have to do delivery.
Would you say that that's something every role in a business should have that they don't currently have, right? So like you're saying, it's me, I've got my business.
What are the roles in the business?
Yeah.
So one of the things we do and create clarity for businesses, and the reason I work, the businesses I generally work with are businesses that have got to a certain size, generally from sort of 10 to 15 million rand to 2 billion rand. Because they get to stages where there's a lack of clarity in those type of things. You've built your business to a certain level and you had enough people that people know what they're doing, but now you're starting to scale. And those processes and that accountability and those things are not clear. So when you start your business, and this is to startup business owners, small business owners, when you start your business, spend some time going, what are the roles in my business? There's sales, production, finance, and admin. Great. What is the role in sales? What are the processes? What's the role in production? What's the role in finance and admin? Then you could have logistics, or it could be part of, now under operations could be logistics. Operations could have manufacturing and logistics. So take the person that's making pickles. That person is going to be the head of sales. That person is going to be the head of operations, and that person is going to be the head of finance, and that person is going to be the head of the business.
Yeah.
So when they're head of the business, what does it mean to analyze your business when you're sitting by yourself, and what's your process? When you're being in sales and you're the head of sales, now you're no longer the head of sales because you have to be the sales rep. What's the process as the sales rep? When you're managing yourself, now that sounds weird, but when you're managing yourself as the sales rep, because you have to be sitting down going, what did I sell today? What was my sales process? And then put the sales manager's cap on and say, dude, you didn't actually follow the process. It sounds weird, but if you create clarity like that right from the beginning in your business, when you start employing people, you know what they have to do. So you slot them into the role that they should be doing and get clarity on the function that they should operate under, and then get clarity on the processes they should do, because you already have that. You'll scale your business a lot faster, and you'll have a lot less headaches with people, because when you hire them, you go, this is what you have to do. Can you do that? This is the process. Can you follow the process? And I just think when I look back on my years in business, it's been one of the biggest mistakes I've made. Got excited about being in business, run out. Well, I start making money. Why? Because I can sell. And then I start scaling, and I'm like, oh shit. I don't document my process and how to do this.
I know how to do. Yeah.
Whereas if I know how to do it, so my brain goes, I don't need to document, but actually I do need to document, because when I'm employing people, they need to follow what I do.
Yes.
And then I need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And interesting, you come back to it. Come back to your first question. What's the biggest price people pay? I think that's a huge price. That's a huge thing we pay for in business, is not setting up our processes and systems. Now, I'm not talking about spending you got to get out and you have to sell. While you're building your business, you have to be, you have to understand that you're going to create the processes and systems while you're doing action. Don't sit around for 3 months and get a whole process manual done and then decide you're going to go do it. Well, you're going to spend a lot of time redoing those processes, because you've now developed something based on what you think you're going to do versus what you're going to do. So while you're doing it, create a very rough, this is my process. While you're doing it, analyze it, measure it, and then document it, tweak it and change it until you find something that works. Then you put that down.
Just this is just the new phrase that I'm loving at the moment. So it's essentially you're building the boat while you're in the water.
Yeah. Because you want to get across.
Yes.
You want to get across the rivers.
Yeah.
So you can build if you're going to cross the river, you're going to build the boat, but you need the process on how to build the boat. So the boat is to be used for going across the water. Okay. So for me, no, the process would be how you're going to build a boat, because in time you want to build 10 boats. In time you want to build 50 boats.
Yeah.
And if you didn't document how you built the boat,
The first boat.
well, one, you may get across the water. And if you're on the other side of the water, and you, let's just hypothetically say you build your boat, you get across, you go across, you get to the other side of the water. Now there's 10 other people on the other side. How are they going to build the same boat as you if you didn't document it?
Yeah.
You get that. So
Yeah,
if you use that little analogy, so it's not about going across the water. Yes, while you're going across, you'll figure out you need a boat.
Yes.
Because you step into the water, oh shit, this sucks.
It's getting deeper, yeah.
And you know, your first boat sinks and you've got to swim back, and then so it's building it and testing it and failing and building it and testing it and failing and seeing what works with it. And then eventually you get it to work.
Yeah.
Well, do you want the people coming behind you to build, test, and fail?
No.
No, you want them to follow your model because you know your process works and get it done.
Yeah.
Once they can follow your model and get it done, and they can do it consistently over time, then they earn the right to put up their hand and say, I have a few ideas on how we can make it better. Not I have a few ideas on how we should change it based on where I came from before without even knowing why you build it.
Yeah.
I have a few ideas on how to make it better. I know in our team, we talk about things, and one of the first things that comes up, yeah, but we should do this. You haven't even done it that way.
Let's do this way.
Follow
the process.
Just follow the process first.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that often happens is you go from there.
And so this next is actually more of a statement, because I feel like it's not a blame on the owners or business owners, and it's also not a blame on the teams. It's just like you said earlier, it's a lack of clarity of processes, right? So that just messes up the whole business, because as the business owner, I have it in my head of how we do this. So like you, for example, you built this business going out, knocking on doors, selling, because you could sell. So you knew what you needed to do. But without documenting that, it was difficult to, for example, bring in sales reps.
Yeah, so we brought in salespeople, and that's where I got lots of those hard lessons. Is I had to step back, create processes, document processes, teach the process, and then hold people accountable to the process.
Yeah.
The more we got clarity in the process, the more we gave people the opportunity to do what they said they were going to do or not. Those people that weren't prepared to follow the process fell out. Those people that were learned, you know, so, and yeah, but at least then there was something to hold people accountable to. If you're not holding people accountable to a process, you'll get lots of stories coming back. And that's where a lot of that busyness comes back. Yeah, but I've been busy and I've been working hard and I've been doing this. Great. You know, working hard, washing the dishes versus working hard. Why? You're in the kitchen, you should be baking the chocolate cake, but you prefer washing dishes because it's much easier.
Yeah.
So you'll go do the dishes and then say how you worked hard. And then make that the reason why you didn't make the cake.
So with this topic in mind, business owners, what they're paying for in terms of people on their teams, processes, what do you think is a hard decision that most owners know they already should make, but they just aren't?
To let people go. One is to let people go, and two is to make the decision to hold someone accountable.
That's a tough one.
It is. You deal with, I think one of the key things with people, and I've learned this, is often you have huge expectation in people. You have expectation that person's going to come in and add value to your business.
Yeah.
And help you create something bigger for you, yes, but also for them. So you have this expectation and this hope. And then when it's not working, the fear of letting them go comes up. And then all the things like, you know, if I just rather keep the person that I know, and
the devil I know versus the devil I don't.
Correct. And it just creates frustration. So, you know, it's the ability to be able to say it, man up and do the hard things is, you know, you're going to pay a price at some stage. You know, one of the a business owner that I've worked with for many years and has built a massive business. I mean, his business will go over 2 billion now. A massive business over 20 years. I asked him a question. I said, you know, what's one of the key things you've learned in business? He said, Barry, that's very simple, is when you find the wrong people, move them on fast. When you find the right people, do whatever you can to hold on to them. And I think a big mistake when it comes to that is we have a gut feel this person's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But we always give the benefit of the doubt, and we do this and we do that. And when I say we, a lot of people, and I've learned that many times over the years as a mistake,
Yep.
is give the benefit of the doubt. Well, they're a nice person and they'll work out and we'll train them. But it very rarely works out. And the biggest reason I think a lot of times we don't do it as business owners or managers, it's the fear of confrontation. It's the fear of sitting down. Gino Wickman has a wonderful saying. It's 36 hours of pain. You sit down with someone, you identify they're not working out, you have the meeting, you move them on, it's 36 hours of pain. And if you don't take the 36 hours of pain, that 36 hours can end up into 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, a whole lot of stuff. And when you look back, you should have actually just pulled the trigger, and it was you.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up, I watch people, they end up blaming the person, and that person goes from becoming the wrong person to a bad person.
Mm.
And it just creates a whole world of shit. And so it's that ability to confront and override the fear of conflict and confrontation.
And I also think like something that people miss, but also like employees, like business owners also have hearts, man. Like it's I don't want to fire somebody, especially with the unemployment that we have in this country.
Why would you want to hire someone in the first place if you're just going to fire them?
Exactly.
So, goodness me.
Yeah.
I don't know if, well, especially none of my clients, their biggest fear is hiring the wrong people.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest fears, and it is one of the biggest prices business owners are paying, one of the biggest fears, if I hire someone and they're wrong, it's going to cost me.
Mm.
And why would you want to hire someone who you're going to fire or want to fire?
Mm.
Goodness me. You want to hire someone who's going to come into your business, fit in, do what's needed to be done, add a lot of value, and grow their life.
Yeah.
I was in a breakfast meeting yesterday morning, and the person speaking said something which I teach this is if you want to know, if you want to change your life and you know what you want to have, and you're in a job, go to your boss and say, this is what I want to have. What do I need to do to get it done?
Mm.
And she put a very similar spin to what I've just said, but she said, pretty much stop being in your job so that you can make money. What do you want out of your life in the next 10 years? Understand what the core drivers in the business are. Understand what role you play to drive those drivers. Link those to what you want to have. Go sit down with the business owner and say, this is what I think I can do for you. This is what I like. This is what I want. If I do this, can I get that? Which is similar to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And people don't want to commit to that because that's now a commitment.
Yeah.
I am now, because the business is a vehicle, but they don't do that. I mean, how many times have I sat down with you and said, Sully, what do you want?
Yep. Many times.
And I'm like, come back to me and tell me what you can drive in this business. And when that turns into income and profitability, what piece do you want?
Yeah.
And she told the story of, a driver, sat down with the driver, said, what do you want? And he said, I want to go watch Liverpool. And they said, okay, so how can you add value to the company? And when they chatted about it and asked questions, it was basically for every, I don't know, kilometer he could take off $1, for example. I remember the exact, I don't remember the exact thing, but one area that he had control over, he could save them $1. Okay. And if he did it over a period of time, he could save X amount of dollars. So what they said, great, is if you can save the $1, we will give you 30% of every $1 you save.
Damn. Good deal.
So now you are connecting someone direct to profitability, direct to saving, and now it becomes an important piece of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. People don't do that. They don't look at it. They're waiting for their boss. Well, you must pay me more. Pay you more for doing what? But if you want more, think, how am I going to extract more out of here? I don't sell. Okay, so I can't just generate more revenue. But how can I be more productive? How can I, I'm in finance. If I can get the financial pack done by the 3rd of the month instead of the 7th. If I can, while I'm building the financial pack every month, if I can have a weekly scorecard and I can develop that, it's not my role because that's not what I'm, but if I do that and it adds to the bottom line and it drives profitability and you guys can make better decisions, what piece can I get of that profitability? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
You know, you come to me and say, Barry, our cost per lead is running at 54 Rand. Okay. If I can keep getting the leads required, so I can keep getting 200 leads a week, I can make sure that they are converting into sales. So we're hitting our sales numbers, but I can reduce the cost of lead from 54 to 34 in an average month. Can I have 30% of the saving? So I don't know. Let's hypothetically say we spend 30 grand a month on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. And our cost of lead is $50. So we are getting in a month. We're getting what are we getting? 60 leads. So for the cost that we're getting 60 effective leads.
Yes.
Okay. We're getting 60 effective leads per month. Well, now we still want the 60 effective leads, which you keep coming in, but you take it to $30. Now we're on 18 grand instead of 30, and you earn 50% of the saving. Now it's up to you not to be busy, but to be effective.
And how am I doing that?
And how you're doing that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But the problem is we come back and go, but I'm working hard. You must pay me more. I'm busy. You must pay me more. You don't get paid for busyness.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
It does indeed. So, last piece.
Yeah.
For business owners listening to this right now, what is one change they can make this week?
Fill in the comment and we can chat to you about how we can help you build your business. You know, because the reality is I can, and I say that because, you know, all businesses are the same, but all businesses are different.
Yeah.
So I can tell you go out and drive sales, but you may be very good at driving sales. So reality is if you're really in a place where you have a business, it's moving forward, you're excited about it, but you feel as though you're stuck a little bit, and there's some tweaks and changes you need to make, just reach out to us. Fill in the comments, click on the link, fill in the form, and then we can have a chat. And yeah, let's uncover a little bit of how maybe we can uncover that greatness or help you in your business. That for me is the best, rather than just go do this, a generic piece of advice.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Hope you guys got value. Hope you guys, I think business owners out there, I hope you guys really got value from this, and I hope you guys are getting value from all the episodes. Don't forget to subscribe. As Barry said, leave your comment, man. Let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know what's going on in your business, and let's see how we can help you uncover the greatness in your business. See you guys next week.